What up, y'all? We are here for our midweek alchemy message, and little did we know or expect that I would be filming during the day today. So how about that? The prophecy has come to pass. So if you watched last night's manifestation oracle reading, we had a message of rest and relaxation. And just like resting in the trust in the sixth day or the sixth year harvest, the harvest of the sixth year. And what I was going with that was the seventh year, honoring the seventh year and letting the land lie fallow. And in order to do that, you have to trust in the bounty and in the abundance and the provision of the Creator during the sixth year. And so if you want to hear more about that in depth, you can watch last night's video. But the interesting thing is that today the alchemy message reiterated that even more. And so it's so interesting because I, tried to do as much as I could today, and I've been chipping away at it and trying not to get frozen in perfectionism. So many times we feel overwhelmed, and then we look at our things to do and we feel like it's all or nothing. I'm all in, or it's nothing. It's not worth it at all. And so it's hard to do things in a way that chips away at something slowly. Have you ever had a situation come up in your life where all of a sudden a lot of your spare time was like sucked up by a situation, and then like what is it, for you that gets like kind of like the like whatever we'll just do kind of thing. Like that's the thing that gets the least of your focus and attention and effort, right? So it piles up over time. For me, it is laundry. Like as long as it's clean and it's in a basket, sometimes if I can keep up with other things, that's the thing that like reflects back to me that I haven't had enough of a balance in my life. I haven't had enough rest to take proper care of all of the elements of life. So I've been trying to chip away at this laundry, and so little by little it's getting like reiterated and put away, and like old things are getting donated and all of this stuff. So it's really good. So anyway, and it's like for me, I love like cleanliness. I love orderliness. And so it makes a huge impact on my well-being and sense of like well-being. So all these messages have been coming through recently about like just rest and replenish and let the land lie fallow, because that is actually for someone who feels the need to constantly do and earn and show up and overgive and work yourself to death and, workaholism. And maybe, when you're triggered and your defense mechanisms come in or your trauma responses come in, it's like you're in flight and fight mode. And so you're constantly trying to like do and work harder. And so maybe in your own personal growth, it's harder for you to give yourself time to rest and really let things go quiet and go inward. And so, maybe some people, it's easier to take the day off and rest, in the name of whatever. And maybe they are being challenged to show up more. But it's whatever has you overcome your scarcity and your fear and your lack. And so today, I decided that, like, I didn't even know it was happening. I didn't decide anything, actually. I was getting ready for work, and sometimes there's a group message that goes out for an offer up to see who wants to take cuts. And if a couple of people take cuts, then usually the night is worth it. You can average it out. And usually I just don't give myself an option to take them because I need to work and I'm just professional. I'm just like, okay, I'm disciplined. I don't give myself an option. I show up 5 days a week. I'm a professional and I'm an adult. And so I don't make it an emotional decision usually. But in this particular instance, I felt that Creator kept sending me messages to rest. And do I need rest. And I needed to go inward. And I needed to be able to like meander and ruminate and all that in a positive, constructive way. And so it's so funny because I've been obsessed with the show, The Chosen. You guys know this. And last night's episode, Jesus, like, the disciples were all like at camp and they're all like dealing with stuff, and like Philip has shown up and he's first just introduced himself for the first time, and like nobody knows where Jesus is. And so in the middle of the night or like the evening, like Jesus finally comes back and Philip's like, oh, hey, what's up? And Jesus was like, hey, what up? And, they start talking. And at some point, I think Jesus was like, yeah, I had a lot on my mind. I had a lot to think about. I just needed to go away for a couple of days. And I'm like, yeah, even Jesus had no trouble just going off and hermiting down for a couple of days and going inward and not having to explain that to anyone or feel bad about it. So I was like, yeah, like that's the whole thing about Shabbat. It's like to honor the Creator. Even the Creator honors the rhythm of rest and replenishment. And we all need it. And so even our desires and our manifestations need it. They need that space. They need that surrender. They need that trust as well as we do. So interesting that today's reading should be breathe, soulless splendor, or the sun's splendor, and chaos. Which I think is so funny because, before the earth was formed and there was this beautiful perfection, the vision, the fulfillment, there was formlessness and nothing, and there was chaos. And it's from chaos that had to come this breathing moment, this space where all this potential gathers and starts to come into form. And what is the refuse, the extra, the defilement, the filth of the material is removed, right? We're in the alchemy message, but when we talk about the separation of the fires and the ice in the formation, there were all the elements were coming in and out, and the good and the everything in between. They were all interwoven and in fire and ice, and the impurities were being separated so that there was nothing left but like this array of divine white light. And when you shine white, pure light, endless light through a prism, it separates into the rainbow, the hue, right? And each one of those colors has a different frequency, right? And they're all used to create a beautiful vision. So the sun's splendor is like the vision fulfilled with nourishment and jewels. And all of these jewels, all of these treasures have come originally from something that started off as chaos and void and, formlessness and shapelessness. And so getting into the reading, which is so interesting. So underneath breathe, we have the Hierophant reversed. So breathing room, like the nebula, like as the nebula forms the stars, there's all these like gaseous clouds of minerals and stardust. And so what those are doing essentially is like breathing in this kind of like dew point of creation here, and this nursery and this nebula of stars. So the stars are coming into being in this sort of womb and these like neon clouds. And so we need to give what we are bringing into creation breathing room. We need to be able to allow for that, because that is many times when the magic is beginning to happen. And so the Hierophant here, when it's in reverse, it's urging you to step out in your own way and on your own path, go in your own direction, or maybe break from tradition or break from the structure. Do something because it's in your own authenticity, and don't be afraid to be separate from the group or to be original, but more importantly, authentic. And that might be unique, and that might take you in a non-traditional route or against traditional commentary or position, right? But don't be afraid to do your own thing, essentially. Take a breath, go do your own thing, go inward. It's going inward where you're going to learn and mentor yourself through this like deeper dive into self-discovery, because right now the cosmos are really supporting us in like uncovering the ways that we lie to ourselves, the way that the ego tricks us with our patterning, with our programming, with our habits, right? And it's so funny that this time of year, not only in in the Hebrew window of time is known as the Omer, which is a 7-week period where our soul is challenged in order to reveal the darkness that we can then alchemize and elevate into awakened, elevated consciousness and love and purifying the heart. But this time of year also, to be magnetic has a challenge going on where they've just started the unblocking challenge, where they tuned into the frequency of the unified oneness and the collective consciousness, and they're doing the unblocking challenge. So what that is they delve into what is the deepest core wound that is perpetuating the unconscious mindsets that are affecting your deservingness, your self-worth, your ability to receive and create and not self-sabotage the manifestations that you're trying to call in. And so in doing that, you're doing the deep inner work, but you're also addressing the nervous system as well. And so you're studying the ways that you go into these trauma response triggers, and you're studying the triggers that set you into the trauma response. Then what are your behaviors and patterns that you do that stem from the trauma responses? And so you can lay them out according to the traditional trauma response and say, okay, I've got a dysregulated nervous system because right now I am flight, fight, fawning, freezing, limerence, right? All of those. You could be, having them manifest in subtle ways in your life in adulthood from childhood stuff, and that you don't even realize it's actually quite common. And so it's just a new thing that has started to make its way into the pop culture, which is great. So it's just yet another tool to help us become more functional, just get through the day. Okay, so moving on, it's like we're being reassured that where we're going to find fulfillment, where we're actually going to open a gateway to that higher destiny, is actually to just hunker down and do our own thing, hermit in, and go inward to find the inner light that is going to help us shine that light for others as well. So we're trying to become a greater vessel of sharing, and we have to kind of isolate and get quiet in order to hear that inner voice, in order to ground ourselves, in order to give ourselves the space and the self-care needed to go into the work. So tonight, my To Be Magnetic, the first day of the challenge homework, is to take an inventory of your nervous system and kind of see where you're at. Well, this also coincided, coincidentally enough, with my Kabbalah 9 course, class 1, that I listened to for the first time on one of my other unexpected, unusual days off this week, this past week that's passed. Glitching, reset. So during Kabbalah 9, the main, objective of the class that night was to identify where in your life are you lying to yourself? What lies do you tell to yourself? And where do you go to distract yourself or avoid facing the truth about those? What is your usual go-to reactive behavior? And it's like whenever that reactive behavior, or whenever the go-to lie comes up in a way that brings discomfort and chaos, it's like that's the worm coming up and showing itself. That's the worm presenting its negativity, and that's positive. It's like the worm coming out of an apple. You don't want to leave the worm in there. You want to get the worm out so you can have the apple, right? The worm is eating up your fruit. So in order to expose that worm, you have to go in, you have to look at it, you have to seek out that darkness. But so many times we just want to avoid it, we want to look away. And so we have this reactive behavior to make ourselves feel better. Maybe it's defensiveness, maybe it's something that we do like an addiction or numb out or avoidance, but you can get in more detail about that. But the question initially, or essentially, was kind of in the same vein. It's like, what do you do that you fool yourself with, that your ego is using as like a block, a defense mechanism, a blind spot, a lie that you believe about yourself? or shame or guilt that you carry around about yourself, or what is it that's holding you back? And so like expose that and see that it's a gift. It's a positive thing when that stuff is exposed, when the storm brings that out. Like, bless the storm. Thank God I can see this, because now I don't have to carry it around inside of me. I can get it out. So we're being encouraged that to do that work is actually going to be like cleaning the source of the water that we've been drinking out of. It's like we can keep putting tablets in the water, keep getting sick, or we can go to the source and clean out what is contaminating the source of the spring. So we're hermiting down, and the real fulfillment is going to come from actually doing the work. And I have a feeling that this is true on many levels. I think that this is the splendor that comes from like the physical act of just getting peaceful, resting, like getting caught up on maybe a couple of things, but doing it in a peaceful way that like makes you feel good. Or doing some things that light you up, that make you feel good, things that you've been meaning to do, and then do some deep inner work that you've been meaning to do. And something that's going to, progress you on. And the more that you heal, the more that you will feel the fulfillment within. But also as a result of this, I think it's going to start manifesting in outer, like changes and shifts and positive changes too. Like we're going to start aligning with our higher destiny, with that higher fulfillment. And so just observing what the homework is observing how our chaos has led us to, because the chaos card is accompanied by 10 of Wands, heavy patterns, carrying a burden that's not worth it anymore. It's like this tattered thing that is worn thin, that has never brought you any value, and is too heavy to bear anymore. It's like this is a pattern that is ready to break. You're at a breaking point with the pattern. And so it's too heavy to even carry anymore. And you see how these patterns, you see so clearly how your patterns have led to cycles of chaos. And so now from this chaos, you can pull light, and you can be enlightened, and you can change. You can change this chaos. You can transmute it. And so from that, you can break the pattern, and then you can start fresh with a new foot forward and consciously create with that higher self, led by that higher self. But give yourself time to breathe and allow spirit to start moving you, and do it in that timing. Don't feel like you have to get out and continue to force, right? Be confident that you can trust that weekly rhythm of rest. And so that's another thing I wanted to say, is that you can start new patterns and new habits. And so the trust here is like we are doing an act of faith. We're doing an act of trust by letting go and by giving the Creator like our acknowledgement that it's not all on our shoulders. Like it's not up to us to do everything. Yes, it's up to us to show up and do everything that we can in our best in our best level, and to raise the bar for ourselves. But knowing that we're nothing without the light of the Creator, the vitality that we're given, the talent we're given, the strength that we're given, the endurance. And so we continue to show up and do our part, but we also honor that time of rest and honor that time of quiet. It's about balancing the masculine and feminine energy. And the passive energy is quiet and listens and is sitting in rest. It's a meditation. But the masculine energy is an active doing. And so we can't always be on. Sometimes we have to have that balance, and we need that balance in order to have that union with the light within, that holy marriage. So we're breaking patterns. We are setting new patterns and new routines to consistency. So we're honoring our promises to ourselves, and we're showing up for our dreams on a daily basis. And we can trust consistency over extreme effort and extreme lack of effort, right? Little consistencies yield great results. So we know that, right? And so that means that having regular times of rest keeps us more satiated on the long term, because we have regular times where we know we give ourselves permission to have joy and have play and have rest and let go and decompress and get quiet. And so that is cumulative and positive also over time and consistency. And so it helps us stay passionate. It helps us have strength. It helps us have endurance. It gives us something consistently to look forward to, and rhythm, right? We're also doing a mitzvah and honoring the decree of God to observe rest. regularly. And so, in a way you can have of that daily, that practice in the morning before you start your day. First, give yourself some time to rest and listen and set your day and plant those seeds with intention and quietness. And let your day kind of come to birth in a more gentle way. And then at the end of the day, give yourself that transitional space, right? As you are putting the day to rest as well. Giving yourself that transition. So trusting in Creator, that Creator's got it, right? Creator is in charge of this. Creator is here in this space, right? But this chaos, it's like, this is what keeps us in the separation from the Creator. This chaos is what makes necessity of the process. But if we can learn what we need to from the process, then and embody that, then there's no need for the process, right? So we have successfully transmuted the chaos, and it has become this. The coal has been pressurized and under the heat, and now gemstones are there, jewels and treasures. All right, but it's not without air, oxygen to fuel the fire, to breathe. I peace be with you and goodwill towards men. Ciao.